Hey there. Hello. How do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Yes, it is 1985. Yes. The song Like a Virgin by Madonna, Louise Ciccone of Michigan, is playing on the radio when I walk into Vino Veritas Wines and Spirits on a bright, sunny, chilly Thursday morning or afternoon in mid-January 1985. Madonna is singing, and Francine's behind the counter. We say hi to each other, and the phone rings just then. It's our old pal Larry Wasserman, who wants a delivery. Right, he wants a magnum of white and a magnum of red, and he wants a liter of scotch. He wants some Glenfiddich. So I go into the stacks, and I get a Principato red and a Principato white, and Francine gets down a liter of Glenfiddich from the booze wall behind her, from the liquor wall behind her, and she bags everything up and she gives me my change. So I say, all right. And so I go on over to the door, I put my hand on the handle, and Francine says, back in a flash, beating me to it. So I go out and I'm walking up 3rd Avenue, and just a couple of storefronts up 3rd Avenue, of course, is the Salty Dog bar. Right. And for a few moments, I'm dancing again with Margie on the Salty Dog dance floor. Yes. I wonder if she's still hanging around as a ghost or not. Perhaps she's already reincarnated. I wonder. Anyhow, I walk up 3rd Avenue and I pass the Kang Deli, and I look to see if Miss Kang is behind the counter. She's not in there today. Oh, well. And before I know it, I'm up at 86th on the elevator going up to the 22nd floor. And on in the elevator on the way up, I'm wondering what sort of company, what sort of visitors, what sort of guests will Larry have today? Because every time I see that cat, he's got 2 different exotically beautiful women as his company. And they always have names that rhyme or are flowers or colors or flavors. So I knock on his door. He answers the door and he says, Harry, I'm so glad you're here. I got a question for you. And I'm like, oh. And so we walk into the living room, that living room with that legendary view. Yes. And I look out and admire that for a moment. He says, look at this floor. And I look at the floor, and it's a beautiful, dark, rich, hardwood floor, inlaid wood, and it's just beautiful with all these, wait a minute, all these scratches and gouges in the wooden floor. And I look at Larry. He says, look at all these scratches and gouges in that beautiful teak wood floor. And I said, teak wood? He says, yeah. I said, teak, that's a famously hardwood. He says, I know. And I'm like, what happened? He says, my nephew. He wanted to borrow the apartment for a night. He had a double date with his friends, and he wanted to impress everybody with that view. I say, well, it is an impressive view. He says, it is. It is. But what I don't understand is why they were compelled to rearrange the furniture. Look at this. Look at these scratches and gouges. They're dragging it around. You can see the scratches and gouges lead up to this. They just dragged the sofa over here, and then they dragged it back. What's wrong with them? And I'm like, ay, ay, ay. He says, my question to you, Harry, is, do you think I should make my nephew sand it himself? And I'm like, oh, Larry, I love the idea of your nephew getting down on the floor and sanding it himself. Oh, that would be fantastic. He says, great. I was hoping you'd say that. And I'm like, that is if you can get him to do it. I mean, what does he do for a living? He's a realtor. I'm like, oh, he's never gonna do it. No, no, no. If he was a manual labor nephew, then you could definitely negotiate it. But this is an executive privilege nephew. Yeah, he's never gonna do that. And he's like, damn. I was afraid you'd say that. And I'm like, well, he's a realtor. He says, yeah. I say, is he a successful realtor? Does he have any money? And Larry says, oh yeah. And I'm like, well, there's your answer. He's just got to foot the bill. And Larry's like, well, of course, if he's not gonna do it himself, he's gonna have to pay for it for the repairs here, And I'm like, absolutely. And Larry says, wait a minute. And I'm like, yeah, wait a minute. What? And he's like, I got to have this entire floor refinished. I just can't have this repaired because it'll never match. I said, it'll never match. He says, this whole floor has to be refurnished, resurfaced, and refinished. And I'm like, Larry, this whole floor has to be refurnished, refinished, and resurfaced. Absolutely. And he says, well, and he can foot the bill. I mean, you're gonna get it. Will he pay for it? He says, oh yeah, he'll pay for it. I'll just go to his mother, my sister. He's afraid of her, and she's afraid of me. Oh yeah, he'll pay it. And I'm like, this is fantastic. He says, yeah. Well, now that that's all settled, would you like a little scotch? And I'm like, oh, Larry. Yes. I mean, if you're sure. He says, well, if it's all right with you. So we go into the kitchen and crack open the bottle of Glenfiddich, and he pours us a couple of nice little drinks. And we walk out into the living room and admire that impressive view. And we toast to manual labor. And we enjoy our drinks looking out at the beautiful Manhattan on a beautiful, sunny, chilly day in January 1985. So we admire the lookout for a while. And I'm like, Larry, I'm on duty actually, so I got to get going. Thanks. Thanks for lunch. He's like, my pleasure. So I'm walking back to the booze store. I'm on 3rd Avenue there, and I see my favorite homeless guy. He's a neighborhood fixture. He just stands around in ragged, pathetic, wretched clothing, looking pathetic. He never begs. He never panhandles. He just stands there looking wretched, and people give him money. I call him Casper Hauser because he looks a little bit like Casper Hauser might look if he lived to be a middle-aged, homeless person in Manhattan on the Upper East Side in the 1980s. Yeah, he's got a good face, though. He does. It's a careworn face. Casper Hauser, this dude has lived a hard life, but he's got a good face nonetheless. I like him. Every now and then I give him a handful of change. Every now and then when I'm feeling jaunty, I'll give him folding money. Well, I'm in a good mood today. Larry Wasserman just gave me $3 and a shot of Glenfiddich. So I give Casper Hauser $2 and I'm still up $1 and a shot of booze. Yes. Well, now it's the following week. It's the following Tuesday. Bright and early on a Tuesday morning, I'm going in at 10 o'clock because I've got a lot of work to do in the wine cellar still. I'm still working on that. And I want to get a good head start. Every now and then I try and get in there at 10 o'clock so that I can get some good work done. And so when I walk in there, What's Love Got to Do with It is playing on the radio by Tina Turner. Right here, I have to digress for a moment. One time, I'm standing in line to get into a nightclub. Me and my friend CT from the Winter Garden and his friend Kooky Crazy Janie. Yes. The three of us are standing in line, and it's a longish line, but it's moving along. And I overhear this from the women in line in front of us. the first lady says to her friend, "Did you hear that new song by Tina Turner? What's love got to do with it?" And the other lady says, "Yes." And the first lady says, "It's so interesting. It asks the question, what's love but the second handy motion?" And the second lady says, "Yes." And the first lady says, "I was wondering, what's the first handy motion?" And the second lady says, "I don't know. Masturbating?" End of digression. So I walk in the store and Tina Turner is singing "What's Love Got to Do with It." I step into Vino Veritas Wines and Spirits, and Tina's singing, and I'd like to kick that Ike Turner. Oh, I'd like to pour scalding hot coffee in his lap and down his back. What a jerk. Anyhow, so I walk into Vino Veritas and Tina Turner is singing away, and Francine's not behind the counter, and Steve ain't anywhere. The only person in the store is some stranger standing there in the middle of the room. Some guy who looks like he was brought in from central casting from the leftover brigade of people auditioning for Revenge of the Nerds. Right, this guy is a classic looking nerd with his curly blonde hair and aviator sunglasses and beard and mustache and his khaki pants and his plaid shirt and his pocket protector. Oh, this guy is legitimate. A pocket protector. Fantastic. Anyhow, we're standing there, Tina's singing away, and we look at each other and we say to each other in unplanned unison, "May I help you?" And we're like, "Huh?" And just at that moment, Steve comes out of the back of the office and he's putting on his trench clothes as he walks up to the front of the store. And he says, "Ah, Harry, Donald." He says, "Harry, I'd like you to meet Donald. Donald, I'd like you to meet Harry. Harry, Donald will be with us from now on." And I'm like, "Oh, hey, well, welcome." And I shake hands with him. He meets my eyes. Yes. And I say, "Welcome to our dysfunctional little family here at Vino Veritas." And just then, on as if on cue, Francine comes in the front door. And Steve says, "Ah, Francine, I'd like you to meet Donald. Donald, meet Francine. Francine, Donald will be with us from now on." And she says, "Oh, well, welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you." And they shake hands. And then Steve says, "All right, I got a busy day. I got to take off now. I won't be back till after 6 o'clock tonight. So, Harry, I'll see you tomorrow." I said, "Tomorrow's Wednesday. I'll see you on Thursday." He says, "All right, I'll see you Thursday." "All right, everybody," he says, and out the front door he goes. After he leaves, I say, "Bye, boss." And right then we stand there and look at each other, the three of us, Francine, Donald, and me. And the phone rings. And Donald and Francine both make a move to answer it. Francine stops that dead cold with a look to Donald, and she very sweetly picks up the phone. It says, "Vino Veritas, may I help you?" Anyhow, it turns out that it is Quesas, a regular customer of ours. And this is that very interesting Hungarian couple who have all the paintings, the real art, framed artwork all over every square inch of their walls, and even some on the ceiling. I love going over there. It's like going into a museum. And they're not bad tippers. Anyhow, so I go get a bottle of Principato Red. I get 2 bottles of Principato Red. That's what they wanted. That's what their order was. I put them on the counter. Francine goes behind the counter. She bags them up and she gives me my change. So I pick up the stuff and I walk over to the door. I put my hand on the door handle, and Francine and I say together, "Back in a flash." And I'm like, "Oh." So I go over to the Quesas apartment and deliver the 2 bottles, the 2 magnums of red wine. And I love going over there and looking at the art. And they give me a couple of bucks, and I'm back to the shop in no time. And when I get back to the shop, Donald is out front sweeping the sidewalk. Yes. That's something that Michael or I usually do first thing in the morning. You should do it every day. And here he is doing it without anybody asking him. This individual shows promise. I kind of like this guy. Anyhow, we go into the store together, and Francine and Donald and I have a little chat to see what's going on. And Donald says, "Oh, yeah. Well, during our interview, when I was talking to Stephen, he said that he had to fire the day manager of the store." And Francine and I are like, "Oh, now it makes so much more sense." So wow, he fired Gregory? Something that we didn't think would happen, right? He said, "All right then. Um, Wait a minute." And I looked over on the wall, and we used to have a photograph. I brought in a camera one day and took a picture of Gregory and Michael standing behind the counter. And I brought it in, and we thumbtacked it up on the booze wall behind the counter there. Well, I looked over and said, "It's not there, you guys. You can see there was a picture there, Donald, that was of Michael and Gregory, and it's all conjecture, but I'm willing to wager that Gregory and Stephen had a big argument over some random thing, and Stephen got mad and yelled and fired Gregory, and Gregory stormed out. And I bet you within 5 minutes after Gregory storming out, Stephen came and took that picture off the wall because he didn't even want to be reminded that Gregory ever existed. It's just a guess, but I'd be willing to wager that because Stephen doesn't tell anybody anything. And then Francine says, "Nobody ever tells us anything." All right. Then it's the next Thursday. It's the next day. The day after next day is Wednesday. The next day is Thursday. Yes. And I'll tell you about that next time. Yes. All right. I'd like you to please like, and subscribe and comment and share it. Yes, that will make your day complete. And I want to thank you for coming on this journey with me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.